to talk about how I get great tones at home, not only for my remote recording sessions, but for YouTube videos like this one. We'll talk about some of my favorite amps and how I like to hook those up to an aux box, and we'll even toss a digital modeler in there as well. So since I'm using direct products like the aux box or digital modelers, I don't have any live cabinets in the room mic'd up. So with all of those great direct guitar products on the market, I have to be able to hear it through something other than headphones, and that's where the studio monitors come into play. So this is one of the Adam speakers that I've used for a long time. This is a first generation Adam A7, and I've used this for about 15 years. I first heard Adam speakers in a studio probably about 20 years ago now, and I was blown away. I heard things in my tone that I thought was wrong because the speaker was replicating it so well. So after 15 years, it was time for an upgrade, as we often do in the studio and recording world. And this is the new Adam A7V that they've put out. And we're not just going to focus on the speakers. We're going to talk about why these are good choices for guitar players, but I'm also going to show you what I use to get sound into the computer, and then we'll tweak and we'll play and we'll demo a little bit from there. So the reason I've been using Adam speakers and I really like them is because the woofer, for one. This is a 7-inch woofer in this, and I don't like to go much bigger than a 7 or an 8. The reason I like the 7, it's a little bit tighter but still retains all of the great low end that your guitar will put out. And Adam's been using this X-Art ribbon technology in their tweeters for a long time, and it's got a larger surface area to it, which helps distribute the highs maybe even more naturally than the competition out there, like the dome tweeters you'll see in other models that are comparable. And these are more their mid-level speakers too. These come in at about $15.99, but they have models ranging from $199 all the way up to $25K. So this is a guitar channel, it's not a recording channel. We're not going to do a deep dive into speaker technical specifications because that sounds wildly entertaining. But there are some really good channels that do deep dives into the speakers that I learned a lot from too. But the thing I did want to show you, actually two things, are the room adaptation buttons, so you can kind of select whether you want some more low end or more mid-range, that sort of thing, or take it away. The speakers do all that really well, and it's subtle, which is nice. Now this other function here allows me to select between pure, uniformed natural response, which is UNR, or an external function. And pure will give you a flat response, which is great for those people that like to do mixing. I do a fair amount of mixing on my own stuff here, but generally I like to run it in that UNC mode, so it sounds a little bit more hyped. It's better for composing or coming up with tones and that sort of thing. It's a little more of an end result coming through the speaker, which I like. So I wanted to show you that. So your guitar signal has to get into the computer some way, and we do that with a recording interface like this one. This is a Universal Audio Apollo X8P. This is the style that I use. This is a pretty high-end one with a lot of inputs and outputs. It's got really great professional analog to digital conversion. If you don't know what that is, don't worry about it, because there's a lot of other units out there that are far less expensive but sound great. Like this one. This is the Volt from Universal Audio. It's one of many products in the Volt line that are more affordable and a great option to get into your computer for just a couple $100. I actually did a video on the Volt. I'll put a link to it below, as well as a link to this and the entire Volt series of products so you can check them out. Again, you want to plug into your iPad with your guitar. This is a great way to do it. You want to slowly get into recording with some software. You can, spend $139 on a Volt and get rolling and start making some music. So we got interfaces, speakers, amplifiers, aux box, of course, guitars. Time to jump in and hear some tones. These great Adam A7 speakers came by way of our friends at Sweetwater. They're sponsoring this video. I'll drop links for all of the gear we talk about that Sweetwater sells in the description below. You can also grab the backing track for free, like I always like to supply you guys. And if you want to try hundreds, literally hundreds of guitar lessons on my site, you can try it free for 14 days, and it's just a low monthly fee after that. Grab all that stuff. Okay, so we got interfaces, speakers, amplifiers, aux boxes, guitars. I think we have enough stuff to get some great tones at home. Let's do it. So what you're looking at is basically what I do for every YouTube video. Now, the speakers would be at my computer desk, the aux and the amplifier would be over here somewhere where you can't see. Sometimes you can't see it. And of course, I'll swap the amps out and connect different ones to the aux so I can, get whatever tone I'm desiring for that particular video. So here it is, really, just a guitar. I'm going to use this PRS DGT so we can get humbucker and single coil tones. We're going to go right into the Bassman. This is a 1965 Bassman. Now, out of the speaker output, I go to the aux, and we're gonna pull up a screenshot in a bit so you can really see how I'm, manipulating the tone with the aux app. Basically, this is a cabinet simulator, and you're saying, well, why can't I just go into these? Well, you can't really do that because you need to put what's called a load or a speaker load on the tube amplifier. The aux does that safely, and then inside of it, there's all this fun digital stuff that will manipulate our sound. We take some outputs of that. We could go right to the speakers if we wanted to, but so I can record this sound, I'm going into my recording interface, then coming out, then we're hearing it through the speakers, and then we're miking it with this stereo large diaphragm Avantone microphone. I think it's a CK40. And I did that so that I could capture the woofer and the ribbon tweeter on the Adam A7Vs. So you can hear we're getting a great sound out of this rig. I got the Bassman set to like that sort of edge of breakup sound. So I can play lightly. Or I can dig in, humbucker. And it's great tube tone from 1965. Now, why do I do this? Well, I love amps. I love the way they feel. The aux is a lifesaver. And ultimately, you want to have a nice size woofer if you're playing guitar, I think, for a lot in the studio, or you're using components like this to generate guitar tone in your home studio or in your home setup. The bigger the woofer, the more low end you're gonna get. And Adam does a great job of not going overboard by giving you an 8. They actually give you a 7-inch woofer. So it's actually a nice tight and not woofy bass response. Now you could add a subwoofer if you wanted to. I've never used one because it's always been great for me. The beautiful thing, it generates my, beloved tube amp guitar tone really, really well. It actually feels like I'm in a studio when I play through these, which is the experience I want. I want it to sound as natural and amp-like as possible. And the A7s give me plenty of low end and plenty of highs. And I can take this amplifier with the beauty of the aux, and I can start to drive it even harder. You can start to buzz a little bit there. So I get that great old Fender breakup sound. I can't do that with normal amplifiers and speaker cabinets in the house. It just doesn't work. So this combination is a winner for me, and it's literally how I get 90% of the tones on all my YouTube videos. So we'll go back to our lower gain setting here on the Bassman. I'm gonna put it on about 2 or so. So it's slightly, mostly clean, but slightly broken up if I dig in. And you can see on the aux app here that I'm actually simulating a 412 cabinet. I got some reverb there. I'm gonna pull my mouse up, and I could take the reverb off. Dry. I have a little compression just to get it nice and punchy. We do that a lot of times in the studio to make the guitar sounds really forward, and I do that on my YouTube videos sometimes too. And it really doesn't really hinder my playing. You can see it's actually barely touching it at all. So there's in a little bit of EQ I'll add to get it a little bit more pleasing. I can add some delay, a little 300 millisecond. Yeah. Now what if I want to change my cabinets? I can do that. Maybe I want to go to a 112 cabinet, like maybe in a deluxe. There you go. The lows got smaller. We can go back to, let's go to a 212 cabinet, or one of my favorites. There we go. And it gives you descriptions of the cabinets and all that too. A little more focused mid-range, but the speakers are replicating that perfectly. So I'm never in a situation where I'm like, I wonder what this sounds like, because they sound really, really great coming through the Adams. So let's say I need a higher gain sound for a track I'm doing or a YouTube video. Usually I lean towards my old 73 Marshall here, which is 100 watts, and I can never mic this in my house. Well, I actually did it once and nobody seemed to mind, but it's not something I do every day. The aux really allows me to harness the power of that Marshall and get all the sound that you should be getting from that amp once you turn it up. Now, I've only put this one on like 2.5, 3 actually, yeah, probably closer to 4. I do have the channels jumped here, you can see. So I'm getting a little more gain that way. And it's coming out to the Atoms, and the Atoms are giving me more of a feel of what it would be like to have this amp in the studio. That and the aux and the amp, obviously it's all cohesive, it all works together. But if I were playing through a puny little speaker or headphones, it wouldn't be the same experience. Again, that stereo Avantone mic is going to a separate recording device. I'll mix it together later, and I mute the lav microphone so it's not killing us. So let's hear how this thing sounds. Sounds like a Marshall. Now you can hear there's some beautiful reverb there. If you look at our aux app here, I'm using this 212 cabinet. This is actually a preset that they created in the aux called Turn to Velvet. I don't know if that's for like Velvet Revolver or something maybe, because there's a lot of presets in there that give you some sort of celebrity sounds. But I can change the microphones. I could maybe make this a SM57. So all of those different microphones give me, let me turn this baby down, even though they're humbuckers, there's still some noise going on. It's because it's old technology mixed with new technology and it's loud. So that's gonna happen. But you can hear we got some great tones. That's what a Marshall should sound like. And we wanna also hear this kind of configuration with some amp modeling stuff too, because it's gonna give us a great result too. So we had a Bassman, we had a Marshall. Let's go the opposite direction and hear some amp modelers as I drop my pick. So it's pretty tough to beat the aux and amplifier combination, but there are times when I will want to use a modeling pedal. In this case, I pulled up the Universal Audio Dream 65 pedal, which is going to give us the sound of that old Fender Deluxe reverb from 1965 with reverb built in, tremolo. I'm going to come stereo out of the pedal into the interface, out to the speakers. That's how you would do it too at home. Now, maybe you're a modeling person. Maybe you love Line 6 or Fractal, Kemper, Tone X, Simplifier, any of those kind of products, and it's just not sounding as big as you need it to. Well, invest in some nicer speakers with a larger woofer, something that's a little bit higher quality than maybe the computer speakers you're playing through, okay? You'll really notice a difference, and all the music and stuff you listen to is gonna sound better too. So if we just play this Sire Strat neck pickup, it's a great sound, and it's being replicated by my whole signal chain, mainly the Adam A7s, but I don't want to get too salesy on these speakers, but what I do want to say is they do make a difference, and that's why I use high quality studio speakers. You know, and again, different price points for different people, but you're gonna hear a difference, and it's gonna make the experience more enjoyable regardless of what you're playing through. So that's pretty much how I'm getting the tones here in the studio, whether it's for tracking sessions or for video content or demos, lessons, courses, all that sort of stuff. You know, there's so much out there in the world of gear these days. We're really in the golden era of gear, in my opinion, because there's just so many things to choose from at different price points. People that want it simple, more complex, there's something for everyone. And I just wanted to show you what I'm using for the most part in all of the work I do here. We really did focus on the Adam A7V speakers in this video because at the end of the day, that's what I'm hearing everything through. And since I upgraded to them, I wanted to really highlight them, throw some love at Adam, and of course Sweetwater for sponsoring the video. There's a lot to consider when it comes to gear. People drop me questions in the comments all the time. Feel free to do that and let me know what you're doing at home, whether you're using different kinds of powered speakers or interfaces or direct to amp, you know, modeler type devices, or maybe you're using an aux box. I'd love to hear what you're using and share it with those that watch the video as well. So if you dug that and you liked the video, it was helpful, please give us a thumbs up, maybe considering subscribing to the channel. Don't forget all the links below as well. All right, I'll see you next time on another video.